This is a major conversation that we've been having, albeit in the shape of attack on press freedom, but it's bigger than that. It's about the national security monster, and that monster has struck again tonight. And we're learning some really worrying details about individuals claiming to be national security or acting on the orders of national security in the Ashanti region, doing something that we're familiar with. We were getting into that, and that is what has prompted this. We should put in the context of what happened last week with the attack on Caleb Kuda. Then you begin to appreciate why we're calling this the national security monster. What is this latest incident I'm talking about? I'm talking about no less a person than DCOP Akufo-Addo, who is the Ashanti Regional Security Coordinator. Guess what happened to him? He was forcibly removed from his office just last week by armed men claiming to be acting on the orders of national security or coming from the National Security Secretariat. We've seen pictures of them, and a lot of them were dressed in mufti. One of them has strapped around his waist a very sophisticated rifle, was dressed in military fatigue in a trouser and tracksuits up, and also a sneaker. And he told a harrowing tale of how they pointed guns at him, an AK-47 to his face, humiliated him in his office, and even wanted to walk him to a washroom. That is how bad he recounts the situation, and all because he says he had been working to deal with the illegal mining menace, and he suspects that this may be elements of the MPP Delta Force vigilante group. We're going to get into that shortly, of the harrowing tale he tells us tonight. This is just coming to light today. We're going to get into that. But there's more to this national security monster. And it's a Caleb Kuda instance. They arrested him, took him to the National Security Secretariat, detained him, assaulted him, brutalized a young man. They didn't stop there. They then raided the premises of CTFM. All this was captured on CCTV. Armed officers going after one journalist, one female journalist, terrorizing the entire institution of a media house. And they were armed with several vehicles, just doing something that was clearly an abuse of the ethics of whatever profession they are in. But this really is just the latest in a long series of things that the national security has been involved in. Surrounding this gentleman here, DSP Samuel Kojo-Azugu, who led the national security operatives to raid the premises of City FM just last week. There is a lot about this man that we will talk about, because again, he was at the center of the Yawaso West Wuogon by-election chaos. And there was a suggestion on this, a recommendation about what should happen to him, what has happened to that. We'll come to that shortly. Again, same national security, operating with the realms of intimidating the media. Again, we saw Emmanuel Ajafo, Emmanuel Yeboah, Brichum of modern Ghana. Again, same modus operandi. Arrested them, blindfolded them, assaulted them. Again, national security. Nothing has come of that, at least. We don't know what has come of the investigations in there. Azugu himself, and as I said, he was the guy who led the CTFM raid, or commanded it, or ordered it. He was a subject of a probe at the Yawaso West Wuogon Presidential Commission of Inquiry, and they recommended that he be reassigned by the IGP. The government white paper actually accepted it and asked the IGP to act. So far, it's clear from the evidence of last week that he is still in place, acting and ordering people. That is something we need to get into tonight. Now, the several recommendations that the Yawaso West Wuogon Presidential Commission of Inquiry made, that really, if it had been addressed, this monster would have been tamed. But nothing has happened about it. Several of them come up for some scrutiny. No mask or hooded men should be used for civilian policing. And if you looked at the videos from CTFM, a lot of the guys who went there wielding arms and rifles, some of them were wearing masks. They were in masks, in direct contravention of the Yawaso West Wuogon by-election recommendation. We spent months, weeks, rather, a lot of money on this. Before the commission, spent a lot of man time speaking to them and making recommendations and suggestions. Nothing was done about this, right? And they're still wearing face mask and doing what, civilian policing should not do. Restructure the Ministry of National Security. That hasn't happened. At least we don't know if it's happened yet. The SWAT team should be disbanded. Government rejected this, and so the SWAT team is still in place. And I presume they are the people who stormed City FM last week, right? The CDD itself has been speaking about it. They want the Milshort Commission report inquiry, dealt with. They want the SWAT team, the National Security Council Secretary, to be disbanded. But then again, the presidential white paper, the government white paper, rejected this, and so it's there for all to see. Now, this is clearly why this monster is still marauding. Restructure the Ministry of National Security hasn't happened. Reorient the minds of the operatives. Again, they are abusing human rights with impunity. Clearly, nothing has happened on the back of the Yawaso West Wogon by-election inquiry. Institute the professional recruitment policing to ensure that the ministry recruits the right caliber of professionals into the national security. Again, the white paper rejected the findings that the national security has in there party operatives. In fact, tonight, it has been identified by one of the people who went to the offices of the Ashanti Regional Security Coordinator and raided his office and humiliated him and forcibly removed him. It's an identified known MPP member in the Ashanti region. In fact, don't take my word for it. The Ashanti Regional Secretary, Sampine, on Newsnight, confirmed that he knows the gentleman. He cannot tell, though, if he's been absorbed into the national security, but at least he was part of the raid, as according to those who saw it. That is at the heart of this conversation. This is a pretty big conversation that must be had, right? And we're going to have that. And my guests are joining me, Dr. Kwesi Yering, the man himself, the DCOP, Opari himself, who was a victim of this just last week, will join us. And we'll also speak to the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament on how do you tame this monster? Is there even a political will to do so? Because it's happened to him. This, we are learning about it tonight, happened to Caleb Kuda, and many others have suffered the fate. It may be you or myself tomorrow if this is not dealt with.